walk out to the show and fall at your door. We got that info for you. Touchdown on that play and buy anything. More than just a podcast for you.
Let me ask this question. So college basketball, I know that some teams are already playing, but it's supposed to start this week, November 25th. And Rick Pitino, we all know who he is, came out this last week that just passed, and he's talked about pushing the start date for basketball back and maybe switching from March Madness to May Madness. With the number of teams, and I think I saw at least 10, Belmont here in Nashville is one of the teams that's not able to play right now because they're in quarantine. Should the start of basketball season be pushed back, or should we just play?
In my opinion, I think it should be pushed back just to make sure everything is all right. Everybody's healthy. And that's just my opinion with the COVID stuff all going on right now. I'm not saying I'm right or somebody else is wrong for saying that it should be started right now. But it's just one of those things where, hey, let's figure out, see how it gets after the flu season and stuff like that, and see how we're going to be able to organize. Because I don't even know how they're going to do it. Are they going to allow fans in there? Gyms are a whole lot smaller than football stadiums are. So I'm not sure if that's their whole goal, trying to get people inside there to make money or what. So if they can push it back a little bit, I'd say I'd go for it. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. I mean, we've seen plenty of seasons be pushed back with all this stuff going on. And it's just like normal. I mean, at first, everybody's like, how's it going to work? How everything going to work? But everybody always figures it out, for sure.
Got it.
I think from a player's perspective, I'm going to have to say, go ahead and get the season started as soon as possible. You know, I mean, these guys have been training. I know they're antsy. I mean, I'm sure they don't care whether or not they can have fans. They just want to get out there and play, you know? So I think the necessary accommodation should be made, you know, to keep everybody healthy to get the season started as soon as possible.
I'm over it. I say play. And how all these college football players who tested positive, has any of them ever gotten sick? We've had football to sit there and watch and look at all these guys test positive.
You know what? Football gives me pause because I don't even know whether we're getting truth in regards to the numbers in football. Because, for example, yesterday, Florida State and Clemson didn't play. And Clemson had practiced with someone who tested positive for COVID, and he was symptomatic. And so their thing was, well, we should still play. But Florida State was like, no, we shouldn't. So I'm wondering what football season is going to look like. Well, what's going to happen when it's over and people can actually be truthful. But that makes me think that basketball should start on time, but there has to be some delay. I don't know that we should have March Madness. I think we should have May Madness, because what we're seeing with football is that there's so many games that are postponed, so many games that are canceled, that you really cannot get a full season. And so I want them to start on time, but only so that they can bake in extra time so that they're not like right now with football, they're like, well, we're going to have our championship games. Well, there's some teams that they're not going to play a full season. And so for the first time in history, like they're saying, like SEC, they're going to actually play games on the same day of the SEC championship, which is unheard of. And that's just because they didn't bake in enough time for the chaos that is COVID. So I'm a fan of starting on time, but I do like the idea of pushing March Madness back to May so that there can be extra time for cancellation and postponement. Because basketball, they're already playing 3-4 times a week. So I can't imagine the reschedule, postpone, what that would look like for basketball athletes. That is going to be really ugly. So I want more time, if that makes sense.
This is going to hurt. Football is different. You got 3 different positions that you can start. You got 3 quarterbacks. You got 3 running backs. If 2 people get sick, then hey, I'm going to lose all my games now because I done missed like 2 or 3 of my biggest players and everything like that. And so that's big because like Clemson, Trevor Lawrence gets sick. You got a top 5 high school quarterback coming in right behind him. My 5-star point guard gets sick. And then I got a 2-star right behind them and stuff like that. And it messes everything up, in my opinion.
And you're a dog, and my thing is getting sick and testing positive are two different things.
Things for sure. But
Yeah.
they have a quarantine protocol now where you're going to sit out now for sure, no matter even if you're sick or not feeling good or anything like that.
But I was just curious, out of, from learning from the football experience of all these people who have tested positive,
Yeah.
how many are truly sick? How many guys actually?
Yes. I see what you're putting.
They're not required to tell us. And as a matter of fact, lots of teams have
But that's a
refused.
big issue. That's the thing is, and that would, if you knew that, then at least you could gauge the risk that you're asking these young men to put themselves into. And because, Rick Pitino, he's an old guy, he's an old whatever, so maybe maybe he should be wearing a mask and doing all these things.
Yep.
But I'm still convinced that a 20 to 22-year-old
They're
is,
not buying anything like that from this stuff.
is
But
really.
we don't know. That's one of the things that I think that when football season is over, we're going to hear a lot of stories, because what they're doing is they're saying who's tested positive.
Correct.
But unless someone outside the program discloses that a person had symptoms, lots of programs are saying, well, we're not going to say who has symptoms because that's a HIPAA violation. So
Of
we
course.
really don't know who. Like, for example, someone outside the team said that this lineman from Clemson was actually symptomatic. But we don't know the people at like LSU. 2 times this year, they literally could not put football teams on the field. But we have no idea what the symptoms were for any of those players, because they don't disclose. And so that's I wonder what.
Tickets to Indianapolis, though, for this idea that they're going to do the bubble for the Final Four for the 64-team tournament. That would be, if you can get inside those games, that'd be an amazing 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, the NBA kind of set the blueprint in terms of basketball and how you can kind of manage the situation and so forth. Now, whether or not these institutions want to put the money into it to make it happen, that's one thing. But I mean, it can be done. It can certainly be done.
I feel like that's a small scale. That's 16 teams that you're looking at, professional wise, that have all the money and everything like that. What about the D2 teams, the D3 NAIAs that don't have the funding and stuff like that?
Exactly. That's another thing. That's the funding. It sounds like a funding issue.
Exactly. You can just make money pop out of nowhere. So you got to take protocols or do something, or just go ahead and just deal with it.
And that was the problem in football. That's why some teams did not play this season at all, because they didn't have the money to test.
Yeah,
and those
majors would be fine.
So it's going to be again, I'm going to go back and say, I think start on time, but don't have March Madness. Do it in May, because you want to give yourself time for the cancellations and the postponements and the rescheduled, because that's going to be really ugly. So next question. Another Ball brother got drafted this week. Let's talk about Lavar Ball for a couple seconds. Is he the Archie Manning of basketball? And for those people who don't know, Archie Manning has sons, Eli and Peyton. That Archie Manning was a quarterback at New Orleans, and his sons respectively were at Indianapolis/Denver for Peyton, and for the New York Giants in football. So is Lavar Ball the basketball version of Archie Manning?
I think Lavar Ball. Archie was pretty laid back with his sons. Lavar is really all up in the camera, saying that he's basically the Don King of his sons. He's a big promoter for his sons.
Oh no, I don't know, because Eli wasn't supposed to be in New York. He got drafted somewhere else, and his family said no, he won't play. And because they had the money,
play for sure.
Because he had the money, he ended up being in New York. So I don't know now. I don't know.
That's different, though. I mean, LaMelo Ball is a really, really good player. And so I believed he was going to be in the NBA back when he was in the high school and everything like that. So I don't think he bought his way in the NBA or anything like that.
Nah.
He's a good player.
Nah. He's the real deal.
So thoughts, Kevin, Jordan? Is LaVar Ball the Archie Manning of basketball?
I mean, I guess you could say that. I mean, in basketball,
I don't know if I would I think LeVar Ball is LeVar Ball. I'm not going to give him any, I don't want to disrespect him by saying he's the Archie Manning. LeVar's got his own brand. He's been way more active media control wise with his kids, sending his kid to Australia versus playing college ball.
He's a pioneer.
Yeah, he's done a lot of different things. And
also, he doesn't have that Archie Manning resume be coming into this either. Archie Manning played in Super Bowls and played pretty long time in the league and everything like that. LeVar Ball is a dad.
Yeah. And the funniest thing about LeVar Ball is, when he was in the media and was saying some of the wildest things, everybody just wanted him to shut up and go away. And now look, everybody's looking for LeVar Ball to be in the media. So I mean, I guess I have to agree with Kevin and Donovan. I mean, he's in a league of his own.
He has seemed to have quieted a bit, and whether it's by design or whether he couldn't get the microphone as easy. But what I'm saying, like the channels I follow, there's not a lot of LeVar Ball coming through anymore.
Oh, yeah, he accomplished his goals. He said what he said, and they're there now. So what more can I say? I told y'all so.
Yeah, he built relevance for himself and his family. He created a legacy outside of basketball. For his family, that social currency.
The Ball family.
That's what appeals to me. I personally don't think he's the Archie Manning of basketball, and here's why. Archie Manning's sons are known for exactly what he did. He produced quarterbacks. They're known for being quarterbacks. They have the Manning Passing Academy, which is again for quarterbacks. And that's like, it's one thing. There wasn't any diversification. And I'm just going to be honest, no disrespect to Archie, but there was no innovation. And so when I look at LeVar Ball, he appeals to me because success leaves clues. And say what you want to say, I believe that he's wildly successful. He was an average person, wasn't a ring earner. Like I never knew what he did in the NBA until someone told me that he was actually in the NBA. His kids, they do different things. They're not known for playing the same position. In my opinion, based on my research, I believe he pushed the G League to be better, because when he created his own league, it gave kids the thought process that I don't have to follow the traditional path. And then even with taking his son over to play in Europe and showing, the shoot baller brand, the label, like he just showed them that basketball can still happen and you don't have to be wholly devoted to basketball up front. You can have a brand, and that brand can be multifaceted, and you can still play basketball too, because for me, that's a key difference between him and other parents. His boys played basketball, but it was not the only thing that they did. We did not think it was unusual that, bless his little heart, what's the little one that was at the Lakers? He trying to be a rapper. We didn't think that was unusual because that it was entertainment. So even having a shoe brand, having their own shoe, for me, I think he's very, very, very innovative, and he shows parents what can be if you are mindful of how to use notoriety to build financial success. That's what I think.
Yeah. I think so too.
Last question. Klay Thompson tore his ACL. My heart broke. I'm so sad for him. So, can Golden State be a contender without him? Or is this, ooh, look at you already shaking your head. Or is this the end of the Warrior times?
I mean, anytime you have Steph Curry on your team, you're always going to be a contender. I mean, the best, he's not only the best shooter in the world, but he's the best scorer in the world. Well, one of the best scorers. I mean, anytime you have that guy on your team, you're going to always be in the talks of a championship. Now, and they also added Kelly Oubre, right?
Yeah, but they got LeBron in the conference now. It's over with.
Look, I didn't say they were going to win it now.
They're going to be a contender anyway. It's just like one of those things where, I don't know. what they did when they did it, it was pretty good before KD came. And with
Yeah.
Klay was a huge part of that success. With Klay being gone, I don't think anybody can fill those shoes in his regard. In which everything and you know, in winning the championships, everything has to go right. You can't just put 5 people on the floor and say, all right, it looks good on paper, we're gonna win championships. It happens all the time. People see, all right, the Cleveland Browns got OBJ, they got these people, championship contenders now. He still doesn't mean anything. In my opinion, I don't think they're a contender. Steph Curry is going to have a great season. They're going to win a lot of games, but competing for a championship without Klay, I don't think it's going to happen.
Kevin, thoughts?
They're not even what they were last place last season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck.
So LeBron's in the conference now, man. There's nothing really much you can do. They just picked up some great players and everything like that to defending champions. There's not really much you can do when LeBron's on the floor.
Yeah.
Y'all basketball people are kind of brutal over here.
Because of LeBron.
Donovan, you didn't even let me get the question out. You was like, no. Kevin, you're just like, good luck. Y'all are really brutal in the basketball world.
Look, I tried to give Golden State some hope.
I think they're going to win games and stuff like that. They'll probably win a lot of games. They'll probably be above 500 this year, but I don't think they're going to be competing for no championships.
I think Steph might be coming. How durable can he be?
Exactly. And so you're not guaranteed to get 82 games out of him this year.
And Wiseman as a pick, interesting. It'd be interesting to see what he develops into. I was looking at the roster. They got Wiggins is kind of the guy that's maybe
in the building for sure.
Maybe he's the wild card if somehow Coach Kerr can get him to do what he never was able to do.
Exactly.
But
y'all basketball guys are brutal. Well, I was gonna say I thought they would be a contender that, no, let me say it with my chest. I think they're gonna be a contender, that someone's gonna step up and they're gonna, fill Klay's shoes. That was me. Maybe I'm being super optimistic.
Big shoes.
Woo! I would just have to say, then I'll wrap this up. Y'all basketball people are like, no, very cut and dry, it's not going to happen. Way different. So I want to just thank you guys for our first show that was dedicated completely to basketball and the basketball world. I learned so much with this show. I have so much questions that I won't ask today, but I will save them for future shows. This is our time, guys. Thank you for listening to another edition of the 10-4 YouTube show. Like our show, subscribe, leave a comment with your questions, share it with your friends and family. You guys have a fabulous week.